Hello, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Thrive with Ina podcast. Another awesome episode is being recorded, and we are so excited to welcome our guest today. Rebecca Langweber is an
Hello.
attorney. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. Thanks so much for coming on to the podcast, and I cannot wait to share your entire story with our listeners. It's an exciting one. We are so used to having different kind of entrepreneurs. We have makeup artists, photographers, videographers, pretty much every sort of business. We have real estate agents on this podcast. But as far as the law goes, I have yet to interview an attorney, and I'm so excited to have you here today. Tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks. So I'm an attorney, will be 10 years in December. Previously focusing mostly on real estate, but more recently focusing on business. Business owners will hire me. It could be at any stage of their business, whether it's starting a business, selling a business, or anything in between. So trademarks, contract audits, NDA, you name it. I am along for the journey with any business owner of any size. Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing, fascinating, and so much needed. This is
Yes.
one thing that I coach my clients who are in process of either opening a business or expanding a business or really any processes in their business.
Mhm.
Get a lawyer. I
Mhm.
always say that is step one in any process. You're thinking to open a new location, get a lawyer. You're thinking to add something into your business, get a lawyer. You're
Mhm.
thinking that you need a lease upgrade, get a lawyer. Anything in this world, you have to have legal advice. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for some kind of misfortune in the future. And I love that you're doing that entire journey.
Mhm.
So let's backtrack a little bit. I get carried away a lot because I'm so excited about you and your story, and I want our listeners to know how it all started. So
Sure.
tell us, where did you begin? How did you get into
Sure.
law 10 years ago? What was that moment where you fell in love with the law?
So I come from a family of lawyers, and whenever I say that, everybody says, "Oh, of course you ended up being a lawyer," but that was never ever my plan. It was never my thought, and my parents really never pushed me into it. I went to a business school. I sort of knew that I had a mind for that, but I studied marketing and information design, corporate communication. I could have sworn I was going to be like a public relations executive, like to the stars. I don't know. But I was big on internships. So I would always feel like whatever I thought I was going to do, I had to try it first through an internship. So I did an internship through a natural gas company in Massachusetts where my college was, which is so random. But I was writing press releases and doing all these kind of things. And I'm like, this is the most boring thing I have ever done. And I changed my major as a result. Like I just was
Wow.
not having it. And I was so grateful for the like experience to figure it out then, because had I graduated and been like stuck in this, I don't know what I would have done. But yeah, so I was like, all right, like now what? So I graduated college early. I just had a lot of extra credits and sort of hustled through it. And I'm like, I'm not ready to work in any capacity, no matter what I thought I would be doing. I wasn't ready for a job really. So I said, let me get more education. Like, what can I, delay my real life with, basically? And so I went to law school and I figured I have a father who is an attorney but never practiced. So I kind of always felt like I could have the legal education and not necessarily be any particular type of lawyer. I'm like, it can't hurt. I got in and I went, and it wasn't easy. I wasn't somebody that, school and studying always came easy to me until law school. And law school, for some reason, was a different way of thinking that took me a little while to kind of get. But once I got it, it was good and it was enjoyable. And I thought I was going to be, again, like me and my big thoughts, I thought I was going to be an entertainment attorney.
Ooh.
Um, I love hockey. I love the sport of hockey. I then thought I was going to be a sports agent / attorney. I even interviewed, I'll never forget, I interviewed with the National Hockey League, which was like
Wow.
my dream, dream, dream. I thought it was like the coolest thing in the world. Um, but being a woman in the sports industry is definitely not super common, and it's a thing and it's up and coming, but it wasn't. I'll never forget, they had me on a laptop, and the laptop was facing a mannequin in the corner of like somebody wearing a jersey. Like no one even had the decency to like look at me during the interview. And this is like my dream, my goals, my dreams, and I was crushed. I'm like, no one even cares. Like I don't know, maybe they gave me an interview because they had to like say they interviewed a woman or something, but they didn't even have the decency to look at me. So I'm like, okay,
Wow.
this is not going to be it for me. So again, I did another internship in court. I did another internship at a lighting company as general counsel, which I always thought was a really cool, like, to work with one client, just to completely in-house and not have to go after and find clients, but you work for the client all the time. And I found that that was like a little challenging too. It was not boring, but not dynamic. There was not really much different here and there. It was kind of the same players all the time and the same, whether it was a merger or other things it was the same stuff all the time. So I went to my mom, who owned a firm, a law firm at the time, and I said I really like contracts, but I really need to work with people. Like I'm kind of bored working just for the same company. And she's like, Rebecca, everything you just talked about is exactly what I do here. And I'm like, all right. So let me do an internship with you. So I interned with my mom, and I have been here ever since, which is awesome. So the firm in general focused primarily on real estate, so buying and selling residential and commercial, and then we also represent lenders. So if you go get a mortgage loan, we also can represent your lender. And I did that for about 7 years, pretty much exclusively. And then these business clients started to find me, or my real estate clients started to buy businesses and say, hey, can you help me? And I fell in love with the business owners. I felt like it was less volatile and emotional than real estate, because business owners are brave and they're not scared to spend money, and it's just so much less emotional than the real estate stuff. And I just loved that. I love the air around a business owner. You're kind of fearless, and then there's me like bringing you back down to earth a little bit sometimes. I just fell in love with it. So 4 months ago I decided that this was going to be my main focus, which is being the in-house counsel to businesses. So it's not just one client, it's a lot of clients, but still playing that role of being the go-to person for the business owner, whether you need me once every year or you need me once every week. I have some clients who need me once every day, and I can kind of I can play that role in any capacity for any business owner, however and whenever you need it, which is the cool thing. It's just the best.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love this. This is such a it's a trip. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I've been on your journey. You did such a great job of telling about story that I actually imagined every time you did something, and then you went to your mom, and then it was like an aha moment, like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't really realize that was
Yeah.
happening. And I love that that you did all the things on your own first, and you just came there to that space where you had the mentorship available, and then you're like, you know what, this is it. I love it.
Yeah.
And then taking all that in, you still found something that you fell in love with even more so. And
Yeah.
I love that you described the air around business owners, because
It's like,
it is.
feel. It's like
It
around you.
is our air. That's why I love working with the business owners. I love coaching business owners, and I love business owners being on the podcast, because
Mhm.
it's all about the air around them. Because
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
that fearlessness, even though we do have a lot of fear, but we work through it,
Mhm.
is really what's the very, very attractive personal
Mhm.
trait of business owners. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, awesome. Um, what a journey. Um, so many questions I have in my head. What was the most pivotal moment in all of that journey? Like, if you were to, I know you took a lot of pivots and you've transformed a lot from one place to the other, and you traveled through different niches of law. What was the most pivotal moment that you think that brought you here today?
So I actually think it's sort of a two-part question, but a two-part answer rather, but it's related. It's the same answer. So I will say having my daughter, which was April of 23, like changed my brain in the way that I perceived things. So she was born, and everything that was important to me was like I picture it like Legos, like rearranged. So like business was still important and I was still important, but I almost see everything differently ever since I had her. So, I was working and everything was fine. And I was, clients were loving my services and I'm making money and all the things that you kind of measure success by. But I didn't feel like I was coming home with the right energy to teach to my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like that really, it just changed the way I see everything. So that really started this like thought process of like something's not clicking, something's not feeling the way either I didn't know it felt that way all along or it felt different than it used to feel. And then so it would be 4 months next week ago that I went to a Babes in Business breakfast and I like don't even know why I was there necessarily. I mean, I knew it was a place to go and I knew it was a place I wanted to go, but I don't even think I knew what I was looking for in going. And you're sitting with a room full of strangers that literally have no idea about anything and I like opened up and I said, this is what I do and I'm not like 100% thrilled and I'm good at it. Like I know I'm good at it. I know my clients are happy I'm an expert in it, quite honestly. But I just feel like there's more for me. And, I do some of this business stuff sort of involved in what I do, but not 100%. And I'll never forget that Jen Fasano looks at me and she's like, so just do that. And I'm like, what do you mean just do that? Like I had 10 reasons why it wasn't going to make sense to pivot or I never thought of myself as an individual brand
Mm-hmm.
ever. So I always have just been the daughter of somebody who owned a law firm and I'm an associate attorney and I was here but I never thought of Rebecca the lawyer as its own identity ever. And the way she said it to me I was like total light bulb. My mind was blown. I left there like, I don't know, I felt like things were running through my veins that I never experienced before. And I started Rebecca the Lawyer, the Instagram that day. So it'll be 4 months. I have 700 followers as of last night, which is really, really cool. Organic, like completely organic. And I have been building that to interact with business owners, share some of the things I do for business owners, share the feeling you have when you hire me and we complete the task. But the Babes in Business meeting really gave me the vision. I knew something wasn't right in my gut, but I couldn't figure out like really what it was or where to take that. And that's kind of it. Just being in again, like the air around business owners where they're like, just do it. What's the problem? I'm like, well, when you put it like that, I guess I'm just going to go do it. And,
Yeah.
you know,
You just have to like I love one of my favorite phrases is that an entrepreneur is a person who jumps off the cliff and then figures out the parachute on the way down, right?
sure.
So that's kind of what we do and that's what you did and you are figuring it out and your parachute is beautiful.
Yeah. Well, what's funny, and you know more, you know just as much as I do. So in my head is ingrained like people, things people have said to you, and just like getting here to this point, and all I hear in my head, 95% of my day is Jess McKinley saying, "Get messy, just do it." Just get messy. Just do it. And
Yeah.
don't overthink. And I am a notorious overthinker prior to having a baby. And then having a baby, you don't really have time to overthink in the same way that you used to. So I just get messy. And it was like if Instagram was going to happen for me, it was going to happen for me. And it did. But if it wasn't, I would try something else. And I felt like it was so consequential.
Mm-hmm.
Every single thing that I do is so consequential. It's really not, I just give it a try. And then if it doesn't work, you try something else or you keep trying.
Yeah.
I never have been like that. So I would say that's my two-part answer of kind of when and how I got to this place. But yeah, I couldn't have perceived that any of that would happen.
Yeah. Life takes you to the most unexpected
Mm-hmm.
places a lot of times and
Sure.
choices that lead you to big moments in your life. I had a moment like that too. I was very sick about 9 years ago, and my rheumatologist was asking me what's helping me feel better. And I was like, well, actually, hot yoga is helping me the most out of everything that I do. And she goes, well, where do you go? I'm like, unfortunately, there is nothing in my community, and I have to commute for 45 minutes. And she goes, why don't you open your own studio near your house?
And you're like,
I was like, Well, what do you mean why? What I have a job, I go to school. What do you mean why? She's like, well, just open your studio and then you'll have a studio next to your house. I was like, you're right, I will. And so long story short, I found
Here we
a
are.
spot and yeah, I rented a spot and the rest is history. I've had my longest yoga studio for over 8 years.
It's just like this matter of fact thing. And I think the reason, if you had to give a reason why not, right? Why not
Mhm.
open my yoga studio? The answer would have been fear, money, time. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Like any of those things.
Yeah.
But they're not good reasons. They're not real reasons.
Yeah.
They're limiting thoughts, they're limiting beliefs, right? But when you strip all those things away that are not real and you just do it, you're like, why didn't I think of this sooner? Why didn't I try this sooner? Or
Yeah.
of course that's the answer. It just really goes to speak to having the right people around you, whether it's your rheumatologist or your business coach or
Yeah.
your networking people or whatever. Like they just frame things differently that it clicks. And
Mhm.
it blows my mind still. Like I think it always will. That
Yeah.
it just, one day I woke up out of bed, had no clue what the hell's going on. 2 hours later at a business meeting, I came home with a vision that I never had before.
Yeah, and
You
it
know?
just goes to show you literally took my thought out of my head
Mhm.
immediately. But it goes to show how important community is and how important it is to be surrounded by like-minded people that are
Mhm.
searching for some answers that you are searching for, and then they can contribute in some way, shape, or form into your energy, into your thought
Yes.
process. That's so important. I always tell everyone around me, all the business owners and people that I coach, that community is one of the most important things because
Mhm.
self-employed can feel very isolating at times, and
Yes.
you might not have the ideas, like you mentioned, going through your
Mhm.
veins, literally,
Right.
until you have that inspiration, like someone's
Mhm.
comment, someone's input that can ignite you and inspire you. And that's so important. I love that for you. Tell us a little bit about what is your favorite part of what you're doing now?
My favorite part of what I'm doing now is I say the journey a lot and it's like sounds very abstract, but um I'll give you an example. So I have one client right now. She's extremely young. She's 25 years old. The second I met her, I knew like she has it. Like whatever it is, I see it. And she's not there yet, right? Like she's not a multi-million-dollar business owner. She doesn't have it all figured out yet, but she has all the pieces. And I feel like that's rare, right? Because we're talking about getting messy and like finding your way and stuff. And I feel like rarely does somebody embody all of the things it takes to be a business owner all at once at that age, especially.
Mhm.
But she just gets it. And so I wasn't around when she started her business, which was about 2 years ago. But she's just, starting to, I tell her, have big girl problems like money management and, renegotiating a lease that was like a baby lease when she first started. And now it's a much bigger deal and her needs are greater. And watching her journey is the coolest thing in the world. I think because I'm newer to focusing on this, I didn't have as much experience from the beginning with people.
Mhm.
So you would come to me to buy your business or sell your business, but I didn't know you before that. So
Mhm.
now I'm starting with somebody more on the ground floor and watching like the growth of everybody and then being instrumental in all of the little pieces that are going to be in her book one day, in her journey. I think with real estate, it was always like you purchased and you sold, and then I probably wouldn't hear from you again for a while because purchases and sales are much more finite or
Mhm.
transactional. And, if you buy a house, you might not buy one for another 30 years. Or if you
Yeah.
sell your house and you move out of state, you really don't need me anymore. But with the business owners, it's just like this ongoing, it's like a story. It really is. It's watching the story. So you're starting to kind of read these first chapters and get excited about it and then like continue on. That's my favorite part. It's so much less transactional. It's so much more personal too, even though, it's not as emotional as the real estate stuff was, but it's just so cool. I just like, I glow when I think about it because it's just really, really cool. And I'm watching, like, she's just one of my examples where I'm watching all of these things happen and all of the right pieces and hiring a CPA and hiring an insurance person and watching her put it all in place. And it's just like, I'm going to sit back and watch you kill it. It's just so awesome. I don't know. I just love it.
I love it. You are definitely glowing when you talk
Yeah.
about
It's
the
so cool.
yeah, it is really cool. I can totally relate. When I coach people, we start at a certain point with them, and
Hmm.
then I get to watch them grow, and I have this process that I'm observing and I'm facilitating for them as well. And I 100% agree that is my favorite part as well
Hmm.
of doing all things in business. But I love that as an attorney, you get to experience that, and I love that you found that connection because I've worked with a lot of attorneys in throughout the years in business. I've had different businesses before I started the yoga, and I'm always on the lookout for other locations, and I've worked with so many different attorneys, but I've never quite gotten a connection.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, the whole world of law. It is very still overran by men. And
100%.
so being a female and a very young female in the legal space, what are some challenges that you come across and have to overcome within that
Sure.
perspective?
So, a lot of my industry in general is much more email driven than it was years and years ago. So, a lot less picking up the phone, a lot less meeting in person. Obviously, the pandemic didn't help that either. But what's interesting is you can have like a whole transaction with somebody, and this is true in real estate or in a business transaction as well. And nobody ever really, knows the age or the demographic or race of the person on the other side, and it doesn't matter. And nowadays you can Google somebody and like get their social security number probably, but you never really know. And I've had so many times where I walk into the room of a closing, for example, the end of the transaction, we've been dealing with each other for months, and like I'm going to walk in and we're going to close this thing, my clients are there, they know who I am, but the maybe older man attorney on the other side is like, oh, are you the title closer? Like, oh, are you the real estate broker? Because you couldn't possibly be a young female attorney. Like, that's not something that registers in their brain. Like, time and time and time again. And I used to be like, oh my God, like, turn red, start sweating, and be very uncomfortable. And now I will just respond and say, why? Because I'm too young and pretty to be an attorney. Like, I literally just fire back because it's just so bizarre to me to
Yeah.
like say whatever comes to your mind and not have a filter. But it's just like that's not reality anymore. Like I'm 34. A 34-year-old woman could be a lot of things that they didn't used to be able to be, right? So, but the fact that that's still your gut visceral reaction, that it's simply not possible for it to be me, is like mind blowing. And then I've also had the reaction of like, wow, like you're so young to be that knowledgeable, or you're so young to be like that, you know, like brutal in the emails, or that much of a shark type of vibe. And I love it. Like now I think it's hilarious because I just like, yeah, you should be surprised, you should be uncomfortable. Like those are all the things I literally love for you. But I've had that a lot, a lot, a lot. And it's definitely more men than women. I mean, history, we got to catch up a little bit, but um I've been in closings or negotiations where it's all women, and I just think that that's like the coolest thing in the world. And like those are like the most efficient closings, and like the most fun closings, and like those types of things, because it's like happening. It's getting to the point where it doesn't need to be a room full of men with one woman, or this whole Babes in Business networking group couldn't have even existed, you know years and years and years and years and years ago, because there wouldn't have been that many women business owners. It wasn't a thing. It just wasn't a thing. So for me, I love that reaction, but there's still a piece of my stomach that's like, really, dude, like that's what you're going with? Because it's like it's old habits, I guess
Yeah.
you can't change it like that, but that happens all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
I mean, it's always fascinating to me how fast as society we can progress, but
Hmm.
so many things are still so old school and
Yeah.
so on back burner, especially the law. And I mean, the law itself is obviously very old, but people who are interpreting the law nowadays are so many women and
Yeah.
so many brilliant women now finally
Yeah.
have access to law and law professions, and
Hmm.
it's I cannot wait to see how as society we are going to be changing. and
Sure.
how much more humane law is going to be, I feel like, because
Mhm.
regardless of you being a shark or anything like that, you are still a mom and you still
Mhm.
have compassion. And I think that those two combined with law and your job are just going to make the world a way better place.
So it's funny that you say that. So my office here is all women
Mhm.
also, which
Woo!
is, and
I
people
love
walk in and are like, wow, this is awesome. It's like this magical place where men don't exist. They do. Listen, we deal with men all day long and it's fine. They're fine. But it's just like this really unique vibe here. And in pivoting my practice to business, my goal was to be the approachable attorney. So I talk a lot about like right now I'm wearing like a nice dress pant and a sneaker because I don't want to wear a heel, and I'm not like, it doesn't make me a better attorney or a more, professional person or whatever, because I just believe in that approachability of it. And I think when people think of lawyers,
it.
they think of like a suit and court and like really expensive legal bills, and like to me like those are just all like the images that even if you Google like attorney flyer, you see like a man in a suit and his like crossing his arms, and like
Always.
I aim to be the approachable antithesis of that, because that's not what people want. Nobody wants to feel like this is going to be expensive, or nobody wants to feel like this person's going to speak to me and I'm going to have no clue what they're talking about. It just doesn't work.
Mhm.
And as a business owner, especially, your budget is tight. It takes money and time to invest in your legal infrastructure as a business, especially a new business. So if I'm also going to be wildly unapproachable and intimidating, it just won't happen. It will never happen. It would never work. I wouldn't hire somebody like that either. So the approachability and like breaking the mold that's been kind of created is my every single day goal. And I think people are like, wow, like she's kind of cool, like this is not what we expected type
Yeah.
thing. And that's like everything to me, because I feel like that is what sets me apart from other people. And I think it's what my clients probably would say they love most about working with me, is like, I'll text you if you want to be texted, and I might have to curse if you want to curse at me, and also you can tell me about the date you had last week. Like I just am that person for you. So there's a lot of clients that have become friends, which is really really fun. But it just builds that rapport, and I think that people need more of that in the women owned business space for sure. Not that I won't work with men business owners, because I will, but like women are my favorite. So yeah.
Everyone, but yeah. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. That is so exciting. I think what you're doing is incredible. You're really disrupting the industry as we know it. And the challenges you run into and breakthroughs that you're having, you're paving the way for so many different women attorneys who are either starting out or aspiring to be. What
Yeah.
would be your advice to someone? It doesn't have to be an attorney, it doesn't have to be a female attorney, it doesn't have to
Mhm.
be anyone. Like, what is the advice that you could give to anyone really? Like, what is that wisdom? What is that
So
inspiration?
I I spoke at an event last night, and I was just talking, like it was cool, and I was talking about law and kind of what I do for people, and the conversation really turned where somebody asked a question, and she sort of just said like, I have a lot going on, like I'm a business owner, I'm a mom, I'm a this, I'm a that, and she was really speaking in her question to the person next to me who had older children. My daughter is one, so she wasn't really talking to me as much about managing it all. And I told a story about when I was pregnant, and I was so excited to be pregnant, but I was also really nauseous. And I felt like guilt, like inner guilt for feeling bad for myself or feeling nauseous, because I had wanted to be pregnant so badly and I worked very hard to get there. Um, and I'll never forget that my acupuncturist said to me, two things can be true. You can be really happy to be pregnant, and you can also be really nauseous. And one and two they're not even related to each other, quite honestly, because two things can be true, or more than one thing can be true, is another way that people say that. And I said it, like, just because it's something that's in my mind, and I said it, and people were like, like jaws were dropping in this room of 40 business women. And it's funny because I did an Instagram post about it months ago, and people also loved it and were, but I just like never really thought about how that phrase applies to everybody and everything. So whether you're going to be a lawyer or you're just a business owner or you're none of those things or you're a mom or you're all of those things, it doesn't really matter, where you can feel something or experience something, and it's not like the dictator of your worthiness, because there's a day where that's not going to go well, or you're going to mess up something. Like I think of it on like the most basic level of like, you can forget your child's lunch, but then you can have a really good day in business. And A and B don't make you a good person or a
Mhm.
bad person or a good mom or a great business owner, because the two things can be true side by side. And every single day, maybe you'll be a little bit better of a business owner than you are a mom. And then other days you'll be like a really good wife, but like maybe not the best mom that day. And like, it's just this ever changing scale. As women, I feel like we're supposed to be this good at everything. Everything's supposed to be firing on all cylinders all the time, and it's just not possible. But then I think we take whatever's suffering and then equate it to our worth. So what I had said to the girl last night, I said, two things can be true. You cannot have had your hair done in a month, but you're a really awesome business owner and you're a really good mom. And there's just no one thing that makes somebody good, bad, successful, or any of that. It's just this ever changing theory of two things are true, and that's like my new it was always in me. I've always operated with that thought, but I never really took it and like extrapolated into business as much as I have been lately. And like, that's the vibe, that's what we're going for. And I kind of concluded last night with like, let yourself off the hook. This is hard. Anything you're doing is hard in and of itself, and then you pile on all of the other things you're doing.
Yeah.
So let yourself off the hook, and that's like the I want everyone to feel that way. Like, you're killing it. You're
Yeah.
killing it. Maybe not in every department, but you're killing it.
Yeah. Maybe not in every department at all times, because that's
It's
exhausting
impossible.
nowadays. Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Let yourself off the hook. That's my new thing.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. You see, that's the compassion I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's the kindness I'm talking about. Being kind to yourself.
Sure.
Definitely. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well,
Yeah.
that was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing
My
all the
pleasure.
things, and
Yes.
giving us such an amazing advice. Listeners are going to love this.
Sure.
And your business model is so unique. I'm really loving it, how you are involved in the entire process, and you love your story and you love living through it, and you become friends with your clients, which is incredible, really.
So cool.
But why not? Why the hell not?
Right.
Especially since you have that human connection between you and the clients. And I love all of the things you're doing. Tell our listeners where they can follow you.
Rebecca the Lawyer on Instagram, all one word, uppercase, lowercase, doesn't make a difference. So it's REBECCA, the Lawyer, all one word.
I love it.
Yeah. Thank you
Well,
so much.
thank
I love
you
this.
so
This is
much
so fun.
for the podcast and sharing your story. And our listeners are going to be looking forward to hearing from you again in about a
Awesome.
year or so. For those of you
Yeah.
who have been tuning into Thrive with Ina podcast, you know that we are interviewing amazing entrepreneurs in season 1. And season 2 is going to blow your minds with what they're up to in about a year from now or so. So if you enjoyed this podcast episode, please like, share, do all the things, and let us know all your thoughts. Looking forward to having you guys. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Thanks.